Hi, I'm John Toll. I'm the moderator for Political Soup Podcast. This is what we're calling the 2.0 version. We hope this is new and better for the 2012 season. This is our second season, if you will. And tonight is just going to be a little bit of fun. We're not starting out with a full-on show. We're just going to do a little whimsical thing. An article found by our guy Nick. And actually, that's Nick down there in the middle. We've got Paul Lawson. You know, the beautiful things, you can read their names for yourselves, but I'm still going to do it. Mitch is new this season, and we've got Danon. And what we're going to talk about today is a controversial private fundraiser video showing some candid Romney comments. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing. You guys can go check it out. It's on CNN on the political section. If you go and look for articles on the 17th of September 2012, you'll find it pretty easily. So basically, the article talks about some of the things that Mitt Romney said, talking about how basically a large portion of America is lazy and doesn't feel like being responsible, things like that. And then the article also discusses some of the things about the responses from the Obama camp and calling him a horrible person for all the things that he's saying, that kind of stuff. And it also does mention at the end that Obama also made some seriously silly comments in 2008. So I'm going to open up the floor now to Danon and see what Danon has to say about this particular article.
Yeah, it's a bit silly. I don't think it's entirely inaccurate. It's a little bit of an overstatement, I guess. Like you said, there are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what, basically because they're dependent on the government. They believe they're victims. They believe the government has a responsibility to care for them. The 47% that are receiving government checks or some sort of a benefit from the government, as far as I know, that number is accurate. Certainly it's an overstatement to say none of them are going to vote for Mr. Romney, or to say that they are dependent on the government, or that they think they're victims, and so forth. There are a lot of people in that group who are perhaps not happy to be receiving, say, unemployment or food stamps or any other kind of welfare, but that it's a necessity. In fact, I was one of them a couple of years ago. But at the same time, I don't see it as any particular big deal. The article actually mentions the first thing that came to my mind, which was President Obama, then Senator Obama's words also at a private fundraiser back in 2008 when he talked about people bitterly clinging to their Bibles and their guns. So I think it's the same sort of thing there.
Right. And what do you think, Danon, about the whole, they believe they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing? I mean, what do you think about that particular statement?
Yeah, well, like I said, he shouldn't have said that 47% of people think that, because certainly they don't. There are some people who do, unfortunately, and they are probably not going to vote for Mitt Romney. I think that's kind of the basic fact. The other thing that came to my mind when I was reading the article was the quote, I think, from Benjamin Franklin that says, once the people find they can vote themselves money, that will herald the end of the republic. And just kind of seems like a strategy that President Obama, maybe specifically, or I guess I would say Democrats in general, tend to follow, which is to kind of get people dependent on the government and then threaten them that the Republicans are going to take that away, basically take away their livelihood. We see that happen with Medicare. And with a lot of other benefits that people come to rely on them, and then why take the risk of voting for a Republican if there's any chance at all that he's going to take this away from us?
All right, Nick, you're smiling up a storm, so why don't you give a little rebuttal there?
Well, I don't think the Democrats need to threaten anything, because the Republicans are pretty clear that they don't believe in welfare programs, and they would actually, if in power and had both power of the legislature and the White House, get rid of most of those programs. So I don't think it's a strategy where you're gonna have to go out and threaten. No, if you vote for this other guy, this is what they might do, because you don't have to say that when the other guy comes out and says it himself. So,
do you
think of it as a strategy?
Do you think those comments are inappropriate that Mitt Romney made, or maybe not so far off the mark? I mean, what?
No, I don't know if they're inappropriate or not. If that's what he believes, I don't. I mean, I guess the good thing for Mitt Romney is things that are recorded in secret that come out and look somewhat unfavorable. They don't necessarily sink you. I mean, I think we've talked about it about President Obama when he was running in 2008. I mean, clearly he said something that wasn't received very well. It had a tinge of truth, or at least of his belief in it. That clearly he felt that when people are, people cling to guns and religion, when it comes down to some part of their passionate feeling around politics, and so I'm not saying that he didn't believe that. I'm sure that in some sense he said it in reflecting his beliefs of how the electorate is, and I would say it's probably the same thing for Mitt Romney in some sense, that it probably poorly chosen words, just like it was back in 2008, but it represents a true insight into how they feel about things, and I think it's clearly fair game for people to talk about, and if it's appropriate or not. And there are people that will applaud him for saying it. So.
Well, what I'm asking is, and those are all valid comments, and it's a good commentary on the general overall idea of it. But I'm interested in your opinion on it. I'm interested in your opinion on whether it's right or not. Just like when the Obama, piece came out, and he said what he said. I'd like to know what you think about what both of them had said.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, as a progressive and believing that government has a role and a responsibility to make sure that communities are taken care of, that there is place for welfare programs, whether they be unemployment insurance or food stamps or Medicare or Medicaid. Those things are things that I believe in, and I think there are a lot of people that are out there taking advantage of them because that's what they need to do. They can't make ends meet without that. And so, from my standpoint, I feel most comfortable supporting a candidate that believes in those programs, and that if Mitt Romney doesn't believe it, and if he's going through fundraisers and saying those things, then he's not the candidate for me. And I'm sure that shocks people like Paul.
All right. Paul, since we're going by smiles here, you're obviously next up, so go ahead and throw your ball.
Well, actually, I've got a couple of things to say.
You? No.
Just a couple?
Well, first of all, Nick, I've got to say, you mentioned that the Republicans, if they had their way, they would get rid of all these programs. But historically, that's not been the case. Even when there have been Republican majorities all over the place, that's not been the case, much to my chagrin, by the way. I wish they would get rid of some of these. And the other thing that you said, that first thing that popped into my mind, was there are people that can't afford to make it if it weren't for these programs. Well, yeah, because they're being taxed to pay for these programs. The whole economy is being taxed to pay for these programs.
Yes, of course they are, but that doesn't mean that when the economy tanks and we go through a boom or bust like we normally do with the capitalist cycle, you got to have something there as a safety net.
You can't blame that on capitalism. You can blame that on their Federal Reserve, certainly, but you can't blame it on capitalism, because that's not a capitalist thing. I mean,
booms and busts happen all the time in capitalist markets.
Booms and busts happen when there's a central bank.
I'll use my favorite Dananism. I reject that notion.
Reject it all you like.
Don't put that on me.
The words, not the position.
I'm with Paul on that, although it's a bit off topic, but I'm generally with Paul that a truly free market is self-correcting to the point that there are no
recessions, I guess. I mean, it's certainly not any kind of extreme, no booms and busts. That the market corrects as it goes, and it's when an outside force interferes that we see these more extremes.
There's certainly ups and downs. You know, before there was a central bank, we saw dips. We saw, you know, rises in the economies, falls in the economies. But that's just, you know, that's the nature of economies. That always happens, whether it's a capitalist economy or whatever economy you prefer to call it. But the fact is that when you have a centralized bank, those are exaggerated quite a bit.
Yeah. Nick said something that I want to address before we lose sight of that, and it's, you basically implied that Republicans essentially want to end any kind of these safety nets, the welfare, or I guess as the general term, any kind of welfare program. I'd love to see evidence of that. I know that's sort of the generally accepted meme in society that Republicans want to slash your health care and your Social Security and all that, but I don't see it happening. When President Bush tried to reform Social Security, that's the line that unfortunately ultimately won out, is that, oh, they want to destroy Social Security.
The only thing I've ever seen them do is try to expand it.
Right, and what we see, I guess specifically on Medicare, is that the Obama administration has cut $700 billion from Medicare. Then the Republicans aren't doing that. That's the Democrats. So I don't know. I mean, if you can point me to some Republicans who are actually legitimately proposing to slash these programs, I would love to see that.
And I would vote for them.
All right, you know what? I'm going to put Mitch on the spot just for a second. Mitch, do you have any opinion on the article that we started with in the first place? Just I'm kind of curious on your opinion.
Topic?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I actually, as much as I like seeing stuff like this, it gives me an idea of who the candidate actually is. These closed door kind of things. It gives me a voice that they're using that isn't necessarily the public voice, and because the public voice is, in my opinion, generally a show, and it usually smacks of pandering when I see it, so it's not my thing. But if you see something like this, or like Obama's statement back in 2008, it gives you an idea of really who you're putting your vote for, who you're casting your ballot for.
So you like seeing their true colors?
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
be fair, these were both at fundraisers, so the case could be made that each of the candidates were pandering to their respective audiences at the time.
It could be, yeah, it could be that too. But I mean, and that shows me another thing is that they're willing to be all things to all people, which is kind of a turn off to me. So, that good?
Yeah, that's good. I'll throw one more question at you, and then I'll let you off the hook. What's your opinion of what he said? I mean, it shows you more of what his true colors are, but what do you think about what you think might be his true colors?
What he said about the 47% or whatever that wouldn't vote for him, that side of it, I think he genuinely believes that, and that's something that kind of, and it might actually be pretty valid. What got me was the bit about he'd be better off if he had a Latino father. That just seems.
We didn't mention that part.
What's that?
Yeah, nobody mentioned that part. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's good.
That part, and that is. It might also be him trying to play to an audience, but it's a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more offensive to put a spin on it, but it's a little bit more tasteless and tacky and just I don't know. It seemed out of place.
Yeah, it could be said that there's a little bit. inappropriate. And just so the audience has an idea of what we're talking about, if you haven't read the article, his quote is, "My dad, as you probably know, was the governor of Michigan and was head of a car company. But he was born in Mexico and had been born of Mexican parents. Had he been born of Mexican parents, I'd have a better shot at winning this," Romney said. "But he was unfortunately born to Americans living in Mexico. I mean, I say that jokingly, but it would be helpful to be Latino." And that's the quote.
Yeah, I'm just joking, but come on.
Well, is that not true? Given our culture, given the political process, given the media coverage of all of this, would it?
I would say it's
true
not
statement?
true. I would say it's not true if you're going to run for the Republican nomination.
Republican nomination because we're racist. I knew you were going there.
No.
Marco Rubio notwithstanding, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got one. Good.
Danon, we've got twins.
I'm not citing one. I'm citing one of the most popular conservative Republicans in the party right now. I haven't
Certainly the most
But,
indeed.
The one that's aligned with the Republican Party because they have an anti-Cuba stance, by the way, not because they're necessarily great on immigration or anything like that.
Okay.
Well, immigration's another issue altogether.
Yeah, and
Well,
actually,
But that's the point. Immigration is something completely different. And if you talk to mainstream Republicans, they would tell you that they are anti-amnesty, and they would tell you that they are for closing up the borders as best we can. So, the idea that he could run as a Latino and that of Mexican descent and have a better chance of winning this thing, I think is a little disingenuous.
That's what I don't get, and that's what bothers me about a lot of, I guess, how the left views the right, is that you would even make that connection. Because, yeah, we are generally against amnesty, and we are for closing up the borders to illegal immigration. It is not then the next logical step to say that we are opposed to Mexicans or Latinos. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with legal citizenship and immigration status.
Yeah, but the issue then skews to certain ethnicities, right? Because the biggest issue around illegal immigration happens to be Mexican.
Well, does it? That's incidental.
Right? I mean, that's
Does it really skew
Canadians don't want to come here.
Well, yeah, I mean, not just Canadians, but I mean, frankly, there are a lot of people that immigrate here. Frankly, I think that our immigration policy is way too difficult, but
Right.
we're way too hard on them, hard on people that want to actually come here and make a life. But that said, I don't think it necessarily skews to a ethnicity.
You don't think that the immigration issue skews to one nationality over any other one?
That's like saying that because we're against terrorism, we must be anti-Arab. I mean, looking at the statistics, yeah, illegal immigration is largely from Latinos. That's just the fact in the world. Most of the people crossing the southern border are from Mexico and South and Central America.
Correct.
I don't think that's controversial to say that.
Currently. But, I mean,
But
it hasn't always been that
completely
way.
incidental. Right, it's completely incidental that it's Latino. It could be any other race. They could be whites. It doesn't matter. The point is illegal immigration and just the openness of the borders.
Right, so there's a couple different ways that you can deal with illegal immigration. One is you can do what Paul just said, and that is actually make it easier for people to immigrate here.
I agree
Or
with
or you could, put up some fences and make it a lot harder and patrol the borders and do your best to keep illegals out. It's one or the other.
Right.
I don't know what
No,
I don't know
no.
what other option
No,
there
it's
is.
both. It's both. It's absolutely both. Because there's
Or
a difference
both.
between legal and illegal immigration. So we want to reduce illegal immigration, and I think that legal immigration should be easier. essentially what we want are people who want to be Americans, not people who come for jobs and fly the flags of their native countries and send money back and leave for the winter and come back for the summer or this or that. We want people who come to America and become Americans. It doesn't mean completely leave their culture behind or whatever. I mean, it's a melting pot. Bring in the culture, this and that. That's what we've done with the Italians, the Irish, everything throughout history. But to be fundamentally American.
And Mitch, I think, were you about to throw out something?
I was just going to say, what's wrong with flying the flag of your native country? I mean, my parents have an Italian flag. They're not even Italian immigrants, but they have pride in their nationality.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Sure, it's certainly fine to be proud of your heritage and so forth, in a sense, but I don't know that they would swear loyalty to Italy over America. Would they?
Who's to say
would
that,
they? Go to Italy.
who's to say that a Hispanic that's flying the Mexican flag or the Puerto Rican flag in my neighborhood, who's to say that they're not loyal to America? Who's to say that they're not legal citizens?
I obviously can't speak for hypothetical individuals here and there. What I have in mind are rallies of people. I'm speaking of rallies whenever immigration comes back up in the national debate, of large La Raza rallies of people flying Mexican flags, carrying banners, talking about how Texas was stolen from them, and other such things that basically show allegiance to foreign countries. I am generalizing here, yes.
All right, guys, I'm going to cut us off. We're somewhere around the 20-minute mark. I haven't been keeping exact track, but...
By the way,
yeah.
I never really actually, you never asked me how I felt about the article.
I know. You threw in your 2 cents, and I want to limit this a little bit this time. And we'll get back to you. Trust me. This was a fun article meant to just kind of rally you guys up a little bit. And all right, Paul, you get a minute. Go ahead. You got a minute. Do it. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
Article, go.
Okay,
Yeah.
actually,
A minute, a miracle.
Yeah. 1 minute. Go.
my opinion's really simple, and it'll take less than a minute. 47%, it's a little high, but, for the most part, he's not completely inaccurate. All done.
All in.
Really? That's all you're going to give us?
That doesn't tell you how you feel about it.
Right. I want to know your opinion on the subject, not just whether you think the numbers are accurate or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 47-ish% might be a little high, but frankly, there are those people out there that will vote for the people who give them, the political Santa Claus, so to speak, that give them the things that they want, and nobody's going to change that.
People vote for people that want to give them what they want.
People vote for.
So if social issues are your thing and you want to see the abortion gone away with, and limitations of gay marriage, that's not delivering what people want. So
that's
it's
a little
somehow
different than voting for free money.
Well, you're generalizing, like the one has a kind of like moral fiber to it, and the other one's just plain old greed.
Yeah, the one is sort of looking for a social moral direction of the country, and the other is for free money.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll take that stance.
Let me cut you guys off. I'm going to cut you guys off for a second, and I'm going to cut to the quick just for Paul. All right, Paul. So you can answer this question very simply. Do you agree with the potential president, Mitt, that a large portion of the United States has a population that doesn't want to be responsible for their own lives? Is that something you would agree with?
I don't know that I'd consider it a large portion yet. At least I hope it's not a large portion.
Not a majority. Not a majority. Just a large portion.
I would say that there's.
Majority.
Well, I wouldn't say there's almost a majority. I would say probably maybe 20% still believe that. But you know, there's a lot of people out there that would be happy just to be able to make it on their own. I'm fully aware of that, and frankly, these are the kind of people that I think that America is made up of. I mean, wow, that really says a lot. These are the kind of people that I think are the fabric and the backbone of this society and what makes this country greater than most.
All right, that's a good note to end on. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching the show. This is our first one of the new season, we'll call it. So thanks again for joining us, and hopefully you'll join us again in our next episode. See you guys later.